B-boy. From the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide. We supposed to be blessed, still a B-boy.
This week, we're heading to the West Coast to talk to an MC who at the age of 14 was already not on a famous album, but was one of the hardest MCs out there. And she was a female. From her work with Ice-T to the classic Murder Squad album and beyond, this week, welcome, Gripsta is in the house.
What's happening? What's happening?
So I start every interview the same. What are your first memories of hearing hip hop?
Oh, okay. My first memories of hearing hip hop is probably, I would have to say, probably the Beastie Boys. This would be the Beastie Boys. I ain't gonna lie. Back when I was still in Oakland, it was the Beastie Boys. It was the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, maybe a little bit after. Me and my cousins back in Oakland we were just kids roaming the streets trying to help people take their groceries in Oakland, trying to help people take their groceries to the car to get a little bit of change. Because back then, change could get you an ice cream cone and some more shit. So, and we would have a boom box and they would just play the Beastie Boys. My cousins, rest in peace to my cousin, but he would have the beatbox and he would just play the Beastie Boys and the cassette over and over and over. And I think that was really my first memory of hip hop. Yeah. And then getting into like the Yo MTV raps and then getting into my mom playing Run DMC in the car. And then of course NWA after that.
So when you first started getting into hip hop, who are some of your first favorite MCs?
So it's hard for me to think of a favorite because I feel like I grew up in the best time and the best part of hip hop, right? So I grew up like with the best, still to this day, the best hip hop artists, right? I liked everybody. I would watch Yo MTV raps and I would, tape the episodes and I would just be glued to the TV because it was like finally a music that I felt like related to me as a young person. Although I grew up with my parents playing like Sade and Luther Vandross and Freddie Jackson and Isley Brothers and stuff. Janet Jackson in the house. But like when hip hop came, it was more aggressive and more street, And so I just connected to it. But I'm trying to think. So I really liked, like I said, I really liked the first people I heard. Beastie Boys, Run DMC, Two Live Crew, NWA, Ice Cube, Ice-T, DJ Quick, Naughty by Nature, Tribe Called Quest, Nicki D, Queen Latifah, MC Lyte.
Well, we're about the same age, and I only know that because you were 14 on Home Invasion. I was 14 when it came out. So I grew up in the same era, and you're right.
Okay.
You could buy almost any tape.
Yeah.
And it was dope, right?
Right.
Almost every.
So do you connect with me when I'm naming these people?
Oh, yeah, that's who I grew up on.
Okay.
I do. I have older brothers and I came up very young listening to Too Short,
Too Short.
NWA.
Oh, yeah.
Ant Banks. Just like,
oh, yeah.
I was in love with it when I was real, real young.
Oh, yeah. Short. Me being from the Bay Area, Too Short, big influence. The Ghetto, the song The Ghetto. When I saw the video as a young girl, it was like he put in a video like the life that I had around me at the time with the crack epidemic and the things that were going on. So that video and that song The Ghetto was like, it was deep. It was really deep for me because I was like living that.
And talking about those MTV rap tapes, I had a pile of about 10 of them. I taped every MTV raps every week, and I had a stack of VHS tapes. That's the shit that you're doing the same thing, taping them on tapes. It's just cool to hear, the things that I was just coming up with as a kid, just trying to absorb this culture. And there's people all across the world, doing the same thing.
Like low key, I got tapes I could pull out right now that say Yo MTV Raps on the little label if I was to go in the closet. Like, I still have them.
Yep, I do too. I do too.
You
I don't have a VCR to play them, but I always
right,
say
exactly. Exactly. Facts.
Yeah, I had a question for you though, because since you were so young being discovered, how long were you writing? Or like, that's my first question. When did you start writing? And my second question is, how many live shows did you do? A bunch of live shows before that to get recognized?
Oh, yeah. So back then, I felt like hip hop was a lot newer. Everybody and their mama wasn't a rapper, especially a female rapper. So to be honest, I hadn't been writing for a long time. I hadn't been rapping for a long time. My mother, when we moved from Oakland to Los Angeles, my mother jumped into the industry and became a comedian. And she came up with Jamie Foxx, Sherry Shepherd would be at the house, Faison Love, like Joe Torre, like all those people would be like up at my house. And my mom was like in that mix with them. So that my mom really opened my eyes to really wanting to be an entertainer overall. So then from there, I was watching UMTV Raps. I saw Left Eye, big influence on me, Crisscross. And I said, well, let me try it. So I tried it. My mom had the connects, put me in the studio. I did maybe 5 shows. And then I got into like the ASCAP rap competition, and you had to go through like steps. So by the time I just kept rapping, performing in them, I made it to the finals, and that's how I met Ice-T. But I hadn't been rapping long. Maybe 3 months. And I maybe had 3 songs in 3 months. So I don't know. I was more natural. I wasn't never shy.
Yeah, that's a gift. I mean, you're really good.
And I think a lot of the things, like even though I hadn't been rapping long, one of the things Ice told me when he met me at the show was that he was just impressed that I just went up there alone with a mic, so young, and was boldly rocking the stage, with no shyness or anything.
that's what's impressive. And you sounded so, I mean, at 14, you sounded so hard, up there with like the Conscious Daughters, who I was a huge fan of. It was just crazy how just hard and polished you even sounded on that Funky Gripsta track. And
Right.
you're still a kid, right? That's just ill. So you catch the ear of Ice-T, and how do you not only make Home Invasion, you get a whole song, just you, on Home Invasion. What was that like?
It was cool. I didn't plan that. That was all his idea. When I was in the competition, there was a lot of record labels there. So it was a lot of other record labels there that were trying to offer me a deal. Particularly EMI wanted to sign me just independently. And my mom at that time, Ice-T was really the man. He was the man. And my mom was like, nah, we're not gonna sign with her, go with him. And so we went with him, and it was like so I met him at the competition. He gave me his number. He said, come to my house. Literally the next day I came to his house, and he signed me to Rhyme Syndicate. He gave me like $20,000, which back then was a lot. I think my mom quit her job. We had a VW green Bug. She sold the Bug. We got a Jeep Cherokee. Like, we thought we were so rich. And it all happened so fast. So it was really a big deal. And then like a couple days later, he's like, come to the studio. I'm going to put you on my album. And I just rapped, and it went on the album. So it was like a whirlwind. It was like a dream.
All these great artists he had on Rhyme Syndicates, starting from the Donald D's, and Everlast was there first, and Nat the Cat. He featured them on their albums, but they have a whole song just dedicated to you. It was just like, I mean, obviously Ice saw a lot in you, and Ice has always been my favorite rapper. I mean, I have 3 different Ice-T tattoos. Really? He was always my goat. Oh yeah.
I got a Syndicate tattoo with the AK-47.
Oh, that's dope.
His daughter we grew up together, as you might or might not know. So we got it together. But
that's the shit. Yeah, I
love that.
I got Rhyme Pays, I got OG, I got Power.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Fuck, you are a loke. Wow, that is crazy. I'm gonna have to show him that.
Yeah, Ice is the man. So
I know we
go ahead.
connected on the iced tea thing, but I would like when me and you first met back in the day, and like I was obsessed with his movies. I watched his movies.
I love well, besides New Jack City, I love Surviving the Game.
Oh, I love that. I love that
Yo,
movie. That's the
Survive.
yes.
Trespass was cool, but
Trespass.
I might watch that shit tonight. Yeah, with the hunting and shit, and that shit was wild.
so good, so good.
That was such a good movie.
Yeah, that shit was good.
So Home Invasion drops a year later, I believe 94. You put out a single, Pop Goes the Nine. Great sample of Ice-T from I Ain't New to This in the hook. So I remember thinking we're gonna get a whole Gripsta album. Why didn't we?
I know back, and the thing is, Pop Goes the Nine never came out. It seems like it came out because it's like it got leaked, but that song never came out. It literally, it just never came out. So what happened was A&M Records, who I had ended up signing to, dropped they gave me the bread. We did the whole album. We did the video. Everything was set to go. And about 3 days before we were going to, MTV, BET, everybody had just approved the video. It was like the worst thing. And they just dropped the whole rap label. And they said it was because they had lost millions on the rappers that were signed to them before me. So they just kind of wanted to stick. At the time, they had Janet Jackson, Barry White, and Sting. Those were like their 3 big ones. And they wanted to just go with that because at the end of the day, it's all about money. They dropped the rap label, and in that, they just dropped me. And they told me that I couldn't walk with any of my album because essentially they paid for it. So I would have had to give them all the hundreds of thousands back, which was spent to take my album. So I just never took my album. And then a lot of things happened where I still tried to help, and a lot of people tried to help. KRS-One, even Suge Knight was going to sign me. Just a lot of people. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, I had meetings with them. They were interested. And it just seemed like nothing really panned out. And that whole album was just shelved. And now that it's been so long, I can legally take the album without getting sued by A&M. But it's like, it's so many years later.
Right. How heartbreaking.
It was hard because I was in high school and I was still a kid. It's like the worst case of like rap blue balls, you know? So luckily I had done acting and stuff, which I've been over the years. I had, I'm still in SAG, and I had done things in and out of that as far as acting, and did like music, like background music for like TV shows and shit like that. So it's like I never have really stopped rapping, but just not on that platform like that.
Well, one record that I always try to give love to on this podcast, because I think it's so underrated, is the Murder Squad project, which you are on.
Yeah.
That is one of the most underrated records ever. I always sing its praises. Features just a who's who of West Coast hip hop, organized by South Central Cartel. Do you remember any of that sessions?
I remember all of that, and I still fuck with them. Me and Big Prodigy, that's my brother. I love him to death. Not that recently, but I've done a collab kind of recently with Young Prod, and we're still in touch. I'm supposed to be getting some more tracks from Prod. So I really remember them because they were like my second family outside of the syndicate. So I spent a lot of time with them, and Shaquilla and all of them.
Yeah, so underrated, yeah.
She's so dope. I feel like we just came in the era where like everything just went bad. Yeah, that's my girl. I don't know, but like we just came up in a weird transitional time for the business part of hip hop, and so it's just kind of like none of us really got our proper, due. I feel like most of the reason I'm here is because I just get contacted. So I had over the years got contacted so much by so many different, I don't like to call people fans, but just people that like me and stuff. And mostly in Europe, almost 80% Europe, not even as much in America. And they're just like, what happened to Gripsta? Where's Gripsta? Gripsta, we love you. And then Ice's daughter, who I grew up with, she's a firecracker. She's like, bitch, you finna rap again. And I'm not taking no for an answer. We got to finish what we started. And she's always been right by my side since I met her dad. So I'm like, okay, I still know how to rap. Like, I don't think you really lose it. You really can tune in, able to come back and still do this like this.
Well, you're right. So my daughter lives in London, and the love that Europe has for old school hip hop,
Yeah.
the kids in Europe appreciate
Oh,
old
yeah.
school hip hop way more than the American kids do. It's
Oh,
almost sad. Yeah, it's amazing. The hip hop scene in Europe always blows me away. So I'm
oh,
not surprised that they aren't forgetting about you.
yeah. No, they haven't forgot about me. I mean, I live in Inglewood in Los Angeles, and it's like they don't give a fuck about me here. But it's
Right.
like I get contacts, Japan, Switzerland, Brazil, France, Germany, Holland, and it's just so weird, really, really weird. So I just have a lot of respect for, those other countries and just the way that they follow hip hop. They really follow hip hop.
And another record you're on is actually Riplak's favorite Ice-T album is actually one that people usually don't say. Seventh Deadly Sin.
Right.
So all
Yeah.
those years later, he got you on Seventh Deadly Sin. Do you remember any of them sessions?
I do remember that session. Like I said, he's a cold businessman. I didn't know that I was going to do that either. He just called me and he said, hey, I want to put you on this track. And the next morning I came up there, and actually I did that song in one take. I just wrote it, I think the night before. It was like 7:30 in the morning, and he just stood there. And I'm still always nervous when he's standing there. This was up at the Crack House, at his house in Hollywood,
Yes.
that studio he built. And he's just standing there like, put grip in there. And I'm like, oh shit, oh, this verse is cool. And I went in there in one take, and he's like, keep it.
Love it. What was your favorite studio session? Did you have any like crazy ones or like ones that are most memorable?
I've had so many studio sessions. I think that it may not be a particular session, but I really, really like the time that I spent with like the Murder Squad and South Central Cartel up at Larrabee Studios, the one in the Valley. Because back then, so Larrabee was like the premier studio. Back then.
Right.
Even Michael Jackson would record there, but there was one like west, and then there was one like in the Valley. And I'm telling you, like the one in the Valley, oh, no. My most memorable would be the kitchen sink. It was in Hollywood, off Sunset Boulevard. And I just remember like everybody coming through there, Spice One, Tretch, just all of the classic people would just be in this studio called the Kitchen Sink, and because it really wasn't that fancy, but it was just a hell of a studio. And that was like the boss, rest in peace, would come there. And I just remember just being around like really, really great rappers. Really, and I would get out of school and just high school and just go up there. And then I would just be with these great iconic rappers. At the time, it didn't register that to me. But when I look back, it's like, wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, wow, I was with all these people. Like,
Well, Riplak, you asked about any memorable sessions. I always like to ask if you have any crazy show stories, something bananas that happened at a live show.
So you guys gotta remember, like, a lot of these live shows, I was underage. I really wasn't supposed to legally be in there. So because of Ice-T and who he was, being that I was under 21, I would get walked in there through backstage, but I really wasn't supposed to be in there. So we did a show. Well, There's a few. We did a show downtown LA, and soon me and Ice drove alone. As soon as we got there, niggas started shooting. And so he was like, all right, time to go. So once they started shooting, that show was over. But I remember ducking and getting down on the floor in the foyer. And I don't even know if Ice ducked, but my ass. And so we got out of there. And so I always remember, like, damn, this is the shit that happens. Like, we've been here 5 minutes and the show, like, you guys are shooting. So that was like, okay. And then another one would probably be when I did a show with Ice at a venue, and he did like body count stuff. And again, I wasn't supposed to be in there. So I came in backstage and somehow I slipped out from backstage and went into the audience. And that was the first time I had seen like a mosh pit and shit like that. So I'm like in the audience and he goes on stage. And I just see like people circling around and like he's jumping out into the crowd, but people are catching him. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, like, can he get hurt? But like it was so much energy and they were so pumped up. And I was like, wow, like I know being a musician, I know music moves people, but with the rock music, it's like it moves them. Like you can really see how it moves them, like because they are circling around and like it was just so energetic. So I was just like, wow, that took me back.
You have been working on music now, so let's talk about what you're doing now and have coming out or recently came out.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, I've been working on this record. I have an idea. I have a lot of ideas for it, how it's going to come together. I still want to do a few more records before I really like finalize it. But in the meantime, I've put out the Scarlet remix to This Is New York. And I put that out last summer. People received that really well. That was like the first song that I had put out, you know what I mean, in like years. And it was received really well. I called it This Is Cali. And I did a video for it where I went around to like a lot of the hoods in California. And people really loved it and stuff. So that kind of got people's eyes and attention back on me and stuff. And then I just recently put out a song called Priceless with my homeboy K-Boy, who's a real poppin' artist out here in LA. He's worked with Dave East and Kendrick Lamar and a host of other people. And it also debuted TTV, who's Ice's oldest daughter, who also is like my sister, creative director, manager type of thing. And she's on the record. And so that's my latest thing that I put out, but it's a lot more stuff to come. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to put out next. And then her and I are also collaborating with my godfather Faison on like a reality show that he's gonna write and produce.
I was just kind of curious about your influences because when I listen to you, it's right up my alley.
Wow, that's crazy. Thank you so much. I'm trying to think like maybe I'm kind of stuck in a time zone, man, because see, I don't know. I ain't gonna lie, like I don't know too much of what my favorite West Coast people are doing now. But I know that like the biggest influences for me on the West Coast, I think it would be like Ice Cube and DJ Quick, just because his production is fucking crazy. We have so many great artists.
Yeah, I'm big into those two as well.
Yeah, I really fuck with DJ Quick and Ice Cube.
Beautiful answers. Those two are very consistent and amazing. So
yeah. Ice Cube went into the movies and shit, and then DJ Quick produced some of the All Eyes on Me, and just I don't know. I've just always respected him as an artist and a producer. I just think he's amazing.
Yes.
And I love Daz Dillinger too. Like if we forget, he's a producer.
He's a dope producer.
Don't sleep on Daz. Like we got a lot of talent out here.
Well, great. I love that you're back doing it. I always wondered, like them kids in Europe, what happened to Gripsta? Because I'm such a Ice-T fan. So anything syndicate related was always in the front of my mind. The teenage kid in me is excited. I heard the new ones that you talked about. I can't wait to hear the rest of them. Plug the pluggables. Where can people find you online? Social media, any of that?
All right. So you can find me on Twitter, Gripsta, Instagram, Gripsta, but it's GRIP_STA. Same thing with TikTok, Gripsta, but I'm mostly on Instagram, you know. I'm not, you know, a little kid, so I feel like I'm not the greatest with this shit, especially like the TikTok. So, you know, if you really want to hit me up, you can definitely find me on Instagram and also YouTube, my YouTube page, which is Gripsta. And I try to go in there, request and respond to people if you're talking regular and not weird and shit, big and stuff like that. Yeah.
In the background next to the Boys in the Hood thing, I see is
Oh,
that for Home Invasion, that plaque?
yeah. That's for Home
That's
Invasion.
yours.
I kind of didn't know if you could see it, but
A
yeah,
little
that's
bit.
Invasion. One is for the UK, the other one is for the United States. And then Cool Keith is a great friend of mine.
Amazing artist.
Yeah, me and Cool Keith got 2 songs together too that we just did and collabed on that are dope as fuck. And he's just a wonderful person. So I was with him on one of his tour dates, and I was like, "Fuck that! Sign me some shit," and I framed it. I just love Cool.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Like I said, been a fan since I heard you in '93. Appreciate you taking the time out. And
All right, thank you.
Still a B-boy, from the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East coast to the west, B-boys worldwide, we supposed to be blessed. Still a B-boy, from the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy.